Hello everyone, this is me, Coach of the Pulse Diancies, and this is week 1. I almost said week 2, no, it's week 1 of the MLD, and I'm facing off against the Snowden Snovers. They have a pretty powerful team, so I'm just going to run through it to see what each mon does. So first off is Togetic, good wish support, Roost, could be kind of scary with Violate, just be kind of a wall, but considering I have Toggle Raichu and just like sort of electric offense, I don't think they'll bring it. Next is Dragapult, just great. Faster than everything on my team, except like Raichu under Search Server and Unburdened Sceptile, which is not a consistent thing. Hits incredibly hard with either like a Dragon Dance set or just like specs, just whatever. And it can be very annoying with the sub-hex set, but I don't think they'll bring the sub-hex set. Either way, and I do have plans. I do have sort of counterplay for all the sets. And I'll go sort of through that. As yet, the next, Dragapult is pretty much what it does, hits hard. So next up is Ferrothorn, Great Wall. Only really weak to fire and fighting, but it can sponge those hits pretty well, actually. Great utility with like Leaf Seed, has Hazard, Stealth Rock, and Spikes. So very good. Hey, it gets knocked off. Vaporeon has Toxic. You can play with Scald Burns, Wish. I guess Flip Turn now too. So it sort of makes it like a mini like Wish Teleport Clefable, just with Vaporeon instead. So that's very good. Mandibuzz, Knockoff, Taunt, Roost, Defog. It gets U-Turn. I don't really need to say more. That's what it does. It's a tank. Works both as a great physical and special tank. I don't really know what it does, and they might never bring it because, like I said, electric offense. But I think just considering that it's just great as sort of a defogger in that sort of scenario, they might bring it. Reuniclus has like a billion different sets, and so it just does a ton of different things. Entei can run like Choice Scarf, Choice Band, whatever. It is one of those Z users, so I do have to be worried about that. Although I think I'm a bit more worried about like just banded Sacred Fires and Extreme Speeds and stuff. Although I do have counterplay to that stuff too, which I'll go through. Orbeal is either be like a setup sweeper or just like a utility, like Momentum U-Turn, Sticky Webs, stuff like that. It's Frisk, which is annoying. Swampert, Mega Swampert, good Rain Sweeper, and that's pretty much it. Set up Spell Rocks, but honestly, it doesn't really do much else on it. But it does that good enough. Pelipper just supplies that Swampert stuff. Gets Hurricane, which is Infinity % accurate in Rain. As well as like Knockoff, just Defog, and U-Turn as well. And finally, Neoqueen is kind of good against my team because, like I said, electric offense, and it's a ground type, and it takes hits pretty hard, deals damage with like a sheer 4th Life Orb, Sludge Wave, Earth Power, and it gets like a ton of coverage. It gets like Flamethrower, like Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, like a ton of stuff. So the team I'm using to try to beat it is, well, first off, we have Coco. Terrain Extender, because as you'll see, I did bring Alolan Raichu, and having the Terrain Extender to extend the electric terrain will make it so that Search Surfer is active for longer on Raichu, which makes it so that I can outspeed everything and hopefully kill everything with the electric terrain boosted Rising Voltage. Volt Switch is a good pivot move. I don't think I need Thunderbolt. I didn't see a use for it, and Volt Switch just provides that momentum. Sort of the plan I had in mind was where I would Volt Switch on either Ferrothorn or Reuniclus. I'm just going to ignore that. Either Ferrothorn or Reuniclus, go Raichu. I live any hit, and then after that, I would set up the Nasty Plot and then hopefully sweep. Grass Knot is coverage for Swampert, Hidden Power Fire, coverage for Ferrothorn, and then Dazzling Gleam is coverage for pretty much everything else. With these EVs, I kind of made a big mistake, which is I thought I had 329 speed, which would allow me to outspeed Entei by 1 point, but nope. Messed up, and now I speed die with it. So, oops, that was my fault. But other than that, just modest, deal damage, do damagey things. Alolan Raichu is my main late game sweeper. If I can keep Coco alive for a while, I can just set up the terrain, volt switch, do the thing. And after the ground types are gone, Nidoqueen doesn't want to take a psychic. Swampert, I believe, dies 100% of the time to a Psychium Z psychic after a nasty plot, and then Rising Voltage kills everything else besides Ferrothorn, and then Focus Blast kills Ferrothorn. So basically, not a lot of switch-ins. This speed is also for Entei. I can't get 229 speed just because of Raichu's speed tier. So 330 was what I had settled on, and I just put the rest of the EVs into HP. Third mod, Moltres. This is what I'm using as my defogger. With the heavy duty boots, I no longer take 50% for rocks on switching. Flame Body is good just because of Ferrothorn wants to job all me, or the multiple U-turns or whatever, sort of punishes that by making him have a chance to be burned. Which is pretty cool. With the Rain Pelipper sets, Hurricane becomes infinity % accurate, which is great for me. And even if Ferrothorn doesn't get, Hurricane is just a great move because it has that 30% chance to confuse. It hits very hard with Moltres. It hits surprisingly hard, to be honest. Regarding speed creeping here, honestly. I know it was something, I just forget what it was. No, through Defog and Substitute sort of allows it to become that sort of wall. This completely shuts down the sub-Hex Dragapult set. Unless they're in Thunderwave, and I don't think they won't because, Coco and Raichu exist. So, well, mainly Coco. But yeah, that exists. So I think they're on, Willis instead. If they do bring the sub-Hex set. The next was my counterplay for the Specs Dragapult set, which is Drapion. So, I don't really have the best switch-ins to Drapion, and so this is the best I could do. I think it barely doesn't get to a KO'd, or it just barely gets to a KO'd by Dragapult, and so if I manage to sort of just play around that a bit, Corsola, as you see, I did bring Glaring Corsola, also takes Draco Meteor relatively well, and of course Coco takes Draco Meteor perfectly fine because it doesn't get affected by it. As for coverage, I just knock off Poison Jab and then Fire Fang for Ferrothorn, Thunder Fang for Pelipper. I've looked at this other coverage, it gets a lot of it, nothing else was better, so I just ran with this. Next is Corsola. Violet, because that's the only good item. Curse Body, because Weak Armor is dumb. Then we got Strength Sap for recovery. Stealth Rock, because Stealth Rock is good. Amnesia to boost that special defense, because I was invested mainly in physical defense. So that's good if I can sort of wall both sides. And then Nightshade, just as a good damage dealing move. Switches into Dragapult pretty well, to be honest. Switches into a lot of things pretty well, to be honest. And the Stealth Rocks pressure mons like Entei and Orbeetle and Pelipper and Mandibuzz if they're not boots, but I think they might be. And also a lot of the calcs for Rising Voltage on Raichu were one-hit KOs only after rocks damage. The Dragapult, I believe, was only an OHKO with Rising Voltage after rocks. So getting up those rocks is kind of important for me, which is just why I brought them. And then finally, you have Ditto. Got 252 HP. And then just Imposter. Just standard Ditto set, because that's literally the only Ditto set. It's good if they bring DD Dragapult, because that means that I can just steal those Dragon Dance boosts and reverse sweep. As well as sort of Dynamax later, with either Dragapult or Entei, or just whatever happens to be the one that I think is the best to Dynamax on. And if they don't bring your unit list, then that's great. And if they do bring your unit list, then I can just kind of stall out the Dynamax with either Drapion or Corsola or whatever. And then sort of reverse Dynamax sweep maybe with that. But without further ado, let's get into the replay. We'll see how my team did. So, I've had about Dragapult, Ferrothorn, Nidoqueen, Vaporeon, Mandibuzz, and Entei. There wasn't really a lead I had that covered everything, so I just decided to lead Ditto, because that would sort of allow me to scout and use this as sort of an offensive or defensive pivot, depending on what my opponent led. So, I wouldn't led the Nidoqueen, and what happened was they were like Sludge Wave, Earth Power, Ice Beam, and Thunderbolt, I believe. And because of that, like they weren't like a defensive like hazard setter with rocks or whatever, or toxic spikes or whatever. So I just decided, hey, let's just Earth Power, see what happens. So they switch in Ferrothorn here, and from that damage, I believe it was a more of a physically defensive Ferrothorn than an especially defensive one, which is great for me because that means that Focus Blast isn't really a roll anymore unless it's Chople, and even then it might not have been a roll if it's depending on how much it's weakened. In Power Fire on Coco will do a ton more, and just it's great for me. Sort of the best thing it can be. So it's leftovers here, and I go into Coco. So, you may be wondering why I go Coco when Moltres exists, and the reason is knockoff. My team does not really have a mon that says, hey, you know what, just let me get knocked off. It doesn't. Every single item is very important on my team. Like, Terrain Extender is great for Raichu. Heavy Duty Boots is just boots, because if Ferrothorn decides to set up the rocks, I am going to be taking 50% damage without those boots, and that's not what I want at all. Assault Vest is the only thing that is allowing me to take hits from Specs Dragapult. A Violet on Corsola is the only thing that makes Corsola work, and same scenario with Choice Scarf on Ditto. So, yeah, I decided that knocking out the Terrain Extender would be the best scenario for me, but they just have spikes instead. I didn't believe they have any reason to switch out, so that's why I hadn't Power Fired here, as it did about as much damage as I expected. They revealed Dragapult, which did just over half. So the thing is, Volt Switch does not kill here, otherwise I would have 100% Volt Switch here. But they went Nidoqueen anyway, so hey, I guess that worked for me. I almost did go Moltres, but like I said, like if they were Life Orb, they could just Thunderbolt the next turn and then, wouldn't really do much for me. So that's why I went Corsola. Plus, as you'll see, Corsola takes the damage pretty well from the Earth Power, and so that's why I decided to go in with the Amnesia, just so that I would be able to get even more, I'd be able to take more damage. But they went Vaporeon, and I knew they were going to Toxic here, but I decided that getting up the Stealth Rocks now as opposed to later was worth it. Plus, I can always just Strength Sap on some Mons. Like, I believe it still takes a hit from Entei or whatever, so still useful. Like I said, like all the calcs were after Rocks damage, so great for me. I just decided to go Ditto. I don't think they would Toxic. They might Scald or whatever. I just wanted to scout it set. They were like Scald, Wish, Protect, and Toxic. But this did not really work out for me because Scald did not kill Ferrothorn. And so I am forced to Wish here, and this is where I make kind of a misplay. Like I said, I was very scared of knock up. Honestly, I should have just gone Moltres here, but I went Coco. And that happened. So, yeah, I am now in a bad spot. Raichu is pretty useless without Coco, to be honest. And just having Coco go away is really bad because now I don't have an immunity to Draco Meteor, as well as just a very fast mon to take out some mon like Vaporeon, Mandibuzz, and just Volt Switch once Nidoqueen goes away. Just click it every single time for for momentum. It's just great, and now all of that is gone. So I'm pretty much forced to go Raichu here. And I decided, hey, let's just go for the sweep. I live any hit. As you can see, the Gyro Ball did that. And so now I just have to hit a Focus Blast. I did. And so Ferrothorn is gone. Just great. So they go into Vaporeon, and I assume that is because they wanted to stall out the electric terrain turns. And so I almost went for Dash Supply here, but no, I decided that going for Rising Voltage was just I don't know, I just went for Rising Voltage anyway. But I knew they would switch out here, that's why I went for Psychic. Because I figured they would predict the Rising Voltage and go Nidoqueen or Dragapult. And so that was why I did that. For some reason they didn't protect here, and I don't really know why. But yeah, the Rising Voltage just took them out. And so now I'm actually in a great spot. They finally realized. What finally realizes that they do have an Entei with extreme speed, and so that takes out the Raichu. But Raichu's job has very well been done. And so now they go into their Mandibuzz, which is revealed to be the Heavy Duty Boots. And yeah, so here I go Moltres. Because it walls pretty much the entire thing. Like, I believe Foul Play just barely breaks sub, even with the like a minus attack and the 0 IVs. And so I figure like it was toxic, stuff like that. So I went for sub, and they whirlwind. And so now this is extremely annoying, like extremely annoying, because I can't really take it out, but it can't really take out Moltres. So I'm just gonna speed through this part, because this is just like it's just me not knowing what to do and being bad. Here I click knockoff to get rid of the boots. Then yeah, I scout the set. I believe it was like Foul Play, Whirlwind, Roost. I forget what the other move was, but honestly it didn't really matter. So here, Corsola is just gone, so I just decided to sack it. Then yeah, here I Roost, because I know they're gonna Whirlwind, and then just continue to do this. I Whirlwind them out, predicting the Whirlwind, and it goes into Dragapult. So now I have this pretty much perfectly healthy Drapion. Can take any hit, go straight for the Draco Meteor. I believe that was not Specs, which is good for me. But either way, I know they're going to go back to Mandibuzz, so I just go for Poison Jab. Like, come on, get the poison, gets the poison, and so now I can take this thing on slightly easier. Like, it's still just soul-crushingly annoying, but now it's just slightly better. I don't know, it's not really better. This is kind of what is making me regret not bringing pressure on Moltres, but whatever. It's just the way it worked. Either way, what happens is now they're weak enough to where Poison Jab will take it out. And now they go into Entei. Just go for Extreme Speed to take it out. And this, I believe, is the perfect time for me to use my Dynamax, because this is why the Dynamax Ditto is the best. It can just steal everything. And here they were Extreme Speed, Stomping Tantrum, Flare Blitz, and Iron Head. Not entirely sure, but that's what they were. So I just went for the Max Quake to take the Dragapult on. And what happened was my opponent decided, well, I'm just going to DQ myself. Because Dragapult was not their Dynamax captain, so now they couldn't do anything. They basically lost because they broke the rules. But either way, I'm just going to play through this. I do end up winning anyway. But yeah, that's just sort of the way it works. Where with Ditto, Dynamax, there was nothing they could do. And with that, the game was over and I won. So, in terms of reflecting on how I did, Coco, going Coco the first time, I think was fine. Going Coco the second time was definitely a misplay. I should have just gone Moltres there, because even if they knocked off, like, the rocks were not up, I could have just subbed. Like, it would have been great. Plus, having Coco alive would have made the Raichu endgame a lot easier, as well as just sort of allowing me to... Yeah, it's basically just Coco is now alive instead of not. In terms of other plays that I did wrong... me not prepping enough for Mandibuzz, but then again, that was still more of a Coco thing. Other than that, I think I did pretty well, to be honest, and I'm excited for week 2 of the league. So I don't really have much else to say, except this has been the Pulse Diancies, and I will see you next time.